So first, let's talk about a few reasons to prune your blueberry plants. You have three main goals. First is to renew the older wood of the plant. This is the gray wood. It also has a rough bark and is often thicker with more of this new red growth. So blueberry plants have a perennial root system, and their canes or their shoots come up and are productive for about 3 years. After 3 years, they start producing small and fewer berries. So they need to be replaced with new fruiting wood that will be fruitful for years to come. Another reason to prune blueberries is to open up the canopy of the plant to light and air penetration. It takes a lot of energy to make fruit, and by getting sunlight into the canopy, that energy can go to those fruits for sweeter berries. And then the third reason is to thin your crop. Blueberries in North Carolina, Piedmont tend to be overproductive and produce too many flowers than the plant can carry. So by pruning, you're thinning out some of the wood, and the berries that are left will be larger and sweeter. You'll want to prune your blueberry plant every year. You typically do the majority of pruning in the dormant season. First, you're going to narrow that base to about a 12 to 18-inch radius. Second, you're going to remove any crossover or low-angle branches like this. Third, you'll want to take out 1 to 3 of the older canes, which we mentioned are these thick, rough canes with gray bark. And then finally, you'll move to the top of the bush and start thinning out some of the twiggy growth to thin the crop and remove old wood from the top of the plant. Start with a larger pair of loppers to make your big cuts at the base of the plant, and then only in the last step, when you're thinning the top of the canopy, will you use your hand pruners. So the last step in pruning is to do detail work with your hand pruners at the top portion of the bush. And here's where I want to point out the difference between a vegetative and a flower bud. If you look on the shoots, there'll be larger swollen pink flower buds, and then small needle pointed buds that are vegetative, so that they only produce leaves. So you're thinning out a lot of those larger flower buds, but you want to leave enough for this year's crop. Right now, I think we've pruned about 30% of the bush, but with a blueberry, you can prune up to 50% of your plant each year. So I'm going to do some detail pruning, thinning out this twiggy, smaller growth, usually not very productive, and it also produces small blueberries. So I'm going to get in here and remove some of these twiggy growth. It really does seem like you're taking off all your crop, but you'll be surprised at how much the bush still bears the coming year. This is more selective pruning. I'm not going to take out the entire cane, but just come back to an upright shoot and prune that back. And this new cane, this will be one of the replacement canes for these older, aging out canes. finished pruning. We have a pile of pruned out branches left over here. If you've seen a disease on your plant, definitely remove them from the area into a brush pile or the trash. Or if it was a pretty clean plant, you can also run over it with a mower and use it as mulch around the base of the plant. So now we have a pruned blueberry plant. You see we've thinned it out quite a lot. We also have worked on training it to an upright growth habit. And finally, in the summertime, you may see these really long shoots coming out of the top of the plant. That is some summer pruning you can do on blueberries. They tend to put out a lot of new growth and when they're growing in really fertile soils, and those can be headed back just to control the size of your plant.